Hey everybody, happy June, happy Thursday. Hopefully you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us for this month's Flagstar Flex series. We're really excited about this. I think it's a good continuation of some of the value that we're trying to bring to you in regards to whether it be product related, industry related, things like today's topic, which you're going to hear more about here over the next 35 minutes. But let me start by saying, like I always do, hope this finds you well, you and your loved ones safe, healthy. I know in regards to COVID, a lot of the cases that you see on a daily basis are at the lowest levels they've been in a long, long time in many of our areas. And hopefully, as you go through that decision process on are you going to get the vaccination or not, that if you choose to do that, you're having success in regards to getting that. So again, hopefully this finds you doing well and safe. Crazy to think it's June already. We're halfway through the year, and we've been through a lot over the last 12 to 15 months, and things keep rolling forward and keep looking good. So really excited about today's session. Going to kind of go off script a little bit today. I'm going to bring somebody on stage next with me to introduce this individual that we're going to have our session with today on charisma. And the reason why I wanted to bring her on, she brought it to us at Flagstar from a standpoint of introducing us to the concept and this individual that is going to share some thoughts with you today. And I did it for all of our managers and all of our AEs, and I thought this would be just a great topic for us to cover on our Flex series. So with that being said, I want to pull onto the virtual live stage Elise Mitchell from MGIC, great partner of ours. We love Elise at Flagstar, and a lot of people do in the industry because it's not just Flagstar that she works with. She's been at MGIC for 20 years. A lot of people on this phone or on the call probably know Elise in some form or fashion. So Elise, welcome to the stage, and I'm going to let you introduce our guest speaker for today.
Thanks, John. And you're not my only one, but you're my favorite one. So that's really what matters. But 15 months ago, we were all making sales calls. We were conducting in-person meetings, doing those lunches and dinners and giving hugs and handshakes. And we were doing what salespeople do, right? And then the dreaded call came in March and we all got shut down. I know personally, the next thing that I knew, I was sitting in a hotel room driving back from Nashville because I was too scared to fly. And I was learning how to conduct a Zoom call. And that's when the reality really set in for me that I cannot connect with my customers the way that I always have. I can't see them in person. I can't build those connections. I can't build that trust. I mean, I can't even look at their retinas anymore, right? Then add on the extra pressure of doing a sales call via Zoom or via WebEx. I mean, who really likes to see themselves on camera? So right away, our marketing department at MGIC brought in Katrina Cravy to train us on what should our background look like and what colors should we wear and how can we still engage with our customers and do it on video confidently. I know that at the end of the day, my first choice, and I'm sure your first choice, is not to see our customers in these Brady Bunch squares. I want to see you all at an MBA meeting and give you a hug, but I can't always do that. And the reality is that in some cases, we may never be able to go back to that fully. So some customers are going to return to an office, but some have figured out that they can work successfully from home and they may not come back. We just don't know. But what I do know for sure is that some form of video is going to be here to stay. And that's why Katrina's messaging is so very important. How do we become charismatic on video? How do we look and sound our best so that you can connect with your customers and your clients? It's really important to our success. And quite honestly, who else better to teach us to do that than an Emmy award-winning journalist who's made a career out of being on camera? So on that note, please help me welcome Katrina Cravy. Katrina, I just want to make sure my background and my lighting is okay. I'm sure you'll tell me if it's not.
Oh, you're great. You're great. I love it. And thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. John, I think Elise could have just taken it. She's got that charisma.
I think she's definitely been through it once or twice and has ingrained a lot of things. I, unfortunately, am still working on my background. From the last time we did our session with Flagstar, I've actually have contractors coming in 2 weeks and my background will be different moving forward. So I've taken a lot of things to heart in regards to kind of what some of you're going to share with our business partners today on how can I look better from like a background perspective to make the overall appearance, a little bit more professional.
I'm happy to add some, you're an investment in the contractors in your area. We did a deeper dive on that session, and I think that's it. I mean, we want to have that executive level presence on this platform as well.
Sure.
So the little dog behind you is cute, and it might provide a story. Is there a story there? That's
the first dog we ever had. His name was Arnold. He was a Rottweiler, and that's a sculpture of him when he was a baby. So that's sentimental to me because he's no longer with us.
See, that's terrific. And just like if you were walking into someone's office in person, you would have mentioned it. And I think that in this environment, people get so stilted. They suddenly are like, oh, I have to be so professional instead of being personable. And that's the whole thing about CharismaQ is we really want to teach you to attract other humans, and you need to be personable and ask about things like that. So I love to start the conversation off that way. And I think other people should too, when you're talking to your prospects and clients.
Yeah, and I think Elise touched on something, right? And as you and I just kind of go back and forth as we go through this, I think a lot of us were thrust into a situation that was very uncomfortable for a lot of people, right? Like, it's one thing to be face-to-face or be over the phone or via email, but all of a sudden when every meeting is some type of WebEx, Zoom, insert the different media platforms that you can use during this time, I think it made, some people weren't as confident. They weren't as comfortable in that situation. And a lot of times, would join, but then I don't even want to steal it. I won't say what I was going to say next. But I think a lot of people were thrust because there was a different way of doing business. So there was a lot of uneasiness and nerves around doing this.
Yeah, it wasn't enough that we had to worry about getting a virus that could send us to the hospital and, it was fatal for so many people. But then suddenly okay, now you're home. We're going to make a connection with people in our homes, but for our work. And then seeing yourself on camera, that is not natural. That's right. You don't usually do that. And we've had a lot of people. I mean, CharismaQ, we started April 1st during the pandemic. This was a business idea that we had been cooking up for years before this. But when this hit, we knew we've got to jump because we knew that so many national sales teams were sent home. And then how are they going to look and show up their best on camera? And how do we help people get over their nerves of doing that? And we had clients that said, hey, the person that was on the top of our leaderboard is now below because they're not having a steak. They're not out there sharing a bottle of wine with their client. And it's sad because they need to be able to embrace this. So a lot of the work we did was some proven TV techniques, right? It's about getting over those nerves, having your theme song, your pump up, and then learning how to look into that camera.
Right.
So that you're not thinking about yourself.
Yeah, it's a different way of communicating, right? And I love this kind of how we're starting the session, right? Because I think Elise touched on something that is it's at the forefront of a lot of executives' minds at a lot of companies, and I think it should be on the forefront of everybody's minds, which is we've just identified over the last year that we're able to conduct business and in a lot of instances be just as efficient, if not more efficient. And in some cases, do it at let's face it, we all run businesses, right? You're looking at revenues versus expenses and you're looking at the bottom line. You can actually be, in essence, more productive. So this model is going to continue in the future. Now, don't get me wrong. Conferences are going to happen again. Things are going to open up. People are going to be face-to-face again. But this medium's not going away, and it's going to be a tool that we can continue to exercise and use going forward.
For sure. And we've had a client that said what used to take us 3 days, we had to fly people in, all the expenses of that, will now take 3 hours. We can pull our subject matter expert from anywhere in the world and pop them in on the call if they're the best person to talk to. I mean, we really have to think about this as a hybrid.
That's right.
And McKinsey & Company are calling it the next normal. So as you know that your charisma counts on this virtual presence and really improving that, the next normal is for these employees to realize that you need a new set of skills. You can't rely on just, yes, the in-person is great, but you have to learn some TV techniques and ability to really get into understanding how you connect with the buyer in this new world. And it is the next normal. It's not the new normal. It's just the next normal of what they're seeing. It's in all industries. And globally looking at this, your buyer prefers it.
Katrina, I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to step in on that. That's the thing I think to our business partners on the other end of this today, sitting in on this session. It's one thing for us to, as an industry, get back on a plane and go to like the Western or the MBA annual and those type of events where you're surrounded by other people that are your peers. But when you're talking about your past clients, your future clients, the homeowner, right, that's looking to purchase a home or to refinance, that's where I think this really comes into play.
It does, because you think about the time that it took for them to get prepared for you, right? That in and out, it's much faster. It's just so much faster. I mean, you could get 4 meetings done in the time when that windshield time you don't need to take anymore. So you really have to prioritize your day and think, okay, what meeting is important for me to go in person? And then what is the meeting that I can do these back to back to back to back and really connect with my buyer? And if they would prefer it, I think that sometimes the naysayer in our head is thinking, oh, they don't want to go on video. They won't want to do this. We talk ourselves out of this when we really should be like, yeah, they do want to do this. This is exactly what they want to do.
Right. It's the embracing of the evolution, right? This industry's seen it. We've gone from no automation, like old school. I know I started in 95 and everything was like handwritten on the application. You had to do all these different things. And now we've evolved to e-closings, you've evolved to like e-doc, e-sign, all that stuff, right? That interjects into it. This is another form of being able to stay in contact with your customer. And now what we're going to talk about, right, as we continue to move forward, is how do you really do that? How do you maximize that ability and that effort through a lot of different ways, which, you know, obviously that's your subject matter expert, hence the reason why we're glad to have you here today.
Yeah, well, it really does come down to your charisma. And our definition of charisma is that ability to attract, engage, motivate, and influence the people around you. And that's what charisma is. I know that many people are like, well, you either have it or you don't have it, right? And
it's funny you say that, because I was going to ask you the question, like, hey, what is charisma, right? And I'm sitting here thinking, like, do I really need to ask that question? But, you know, when you stop and think about it, you maybe see some people when you walk into a room or they walk into your room, but really it's a different definition as you look at it.
It is a different definition. And it really comes down to what you have your own biases. I mean, when I say charisma to you, what do you think of?
I think it's somebody that walks into a room and just owns the room, right? Or walks into a presentation and owns the presentation, right? They command the room. My wife used to joke around, like she would watch me walk into a room. She's like, you would know nobody and you just feel comfortable in that situation, right? And some people don't.
They don't. And there's different kinds of charisma. I mean, there's the kindness charisma. My business partner, Terry Herman, she's so extremely kind and she's so giving of herself that people are naturally attracted to her. Where you're right, you and we would walk in and be like, hey, aren't you glad to see me? Right? Which may or may not be a good thing sometimes. But it is finding what really does help you attract, engage, and motivate other people. And for CharismaQ, we have some components of charisma. So you have to break it down. And we have talked to professors, we have talked to, and this is Terry, by the way. This is one of the reasons we started our company, is that 85% of your financial success is based on your ability to communicate and to negotiate and lead. And even though this is a 100-year-old quote, when it comes to getting those first meetings, right? I know that the technical knowledge in your field is important, and 15%, I don't want to act like, oh, you don't really need the technical knowledge. You do.
Of course.
After you get past that first meeting, right? After you've done the prospecting, that's where that 85% is. So when Terry and I started the company at CharismaQ, this is one of our main pillars. I mean, we're set on making a world of confident communicators. Now, how do we do that? Well, through charisma and those components. If you started like, okay, how do you divide up charisma? We have our 2 6 components. And this is the definition. When we go into the components of it, it really is the art and the science and the teachability of charisma. So you have your authenticity. We know when something, I mean, it's rooted in science. Like I said, we've talked to professors and industrial psychologists. I can load you up with all the white papers on charisma. It can be taught for those who want to develop and grow. This is not something like, well, I don't really want to do this. Well, then you're not going to have the charisma. And it takes practice to master. There's so many different approach shots in our business and along the sales process, and different buyer personas. How do they want to be communicated with? And so it comes down to that teachability, and it's authenticity. It's got to be authentic to who you are. We can all spot a phony, right?
That's right.
Well, we know when we see somebody that you're like, you're trying to be somebody instead of who you really are. So those components of authenticity is extremely important. And then it's the empathy. How much empathy do you have for your buyer? I mean, studies have shown that 13% of buyers think that salespeople don't even understand what they really need. They just went right into the, blah, here's all the information about my product, instead of diving deeper, asking some really reporter questions to bring out what are they really saying. And then confidence in the moments that matter. That entire row there, that's all the art of charisma. Now the science, first impressions, how do we show up? That's why you're building a new background, right?
That's right.
It's your set. So how do you build your set? How do you build yourself? Which we'll get a little deeper dive into that. Your message alignment with your company. We at CharismaQ are an onboarding play for many of our clients that realize that once, probably at 30 to 45 days, when the employee really understands the message of the company, we send them through our evaluation process to know, yes, they're hitting the marks. They're hitting all of this. And then delivery is your voice. Are you talking way too fast and nobody can understand anything you're saying? Are you able to slow it down? Are you able to use all of your melody? And then your filler words. How many likes, well, you knows did you throw in there? And now nobody has any confidence in you because it seems like, well, I don't really know if this is the right thing for you or not.
That's right.
So these are all of our components. I know that, John, when I'm talking to you, I know you're completely authentic. Like, you're comfortable in your own skin. But I know for many of people that it's like, okay, in this environment, I'm not.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, Katrina, so this is like, you and I kind of had some sessions leading up to this, right? This is a continual work in progress for our business partners, right? And one of the sessions we did early on was around, you know, yourself, your brand, your social brand, right? And then when you look at that coupled with this, I say the same thing over and over to people, right? Like, the only time they're really going to make a mistake around this is just by not doing, right? So you talk about authenticity. I don't care how bad you think you come across, as long as you're being authentic, the person on the other end sees that, whether it's the borrower, a realtor referral that you're trying to build a relationship with. And then you look at some of these key components, right? I don't want to say stick your chest out and beat it, but like, be confident in what you're talking about, right? At the end of the day, you know the message you're trying to get across. And then we are going to talk a lot about the first impressions, because I think, you know, with your background and everything that you're rooted in to form the company that you formed, I think that's a big, you know, I think that goes into the confidence, right? In regards to, if I'm comfortable in my setting and I feel like I look good and I'm being presented correctly, then I'm confident.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. And when we're talking about first impressions right now, I know I'm being told there's a little bit of an echo, so I hope that that is gone. I think we're good on that.
Got
Hopefully.
it.
Okay. Yes, those first impressions. Imagine when for me, being in a TV career, we had consultants that came in all the time, and they would look at us and they would give us like a 5-second size up from top to bottom. And they would say that people are going to look at you and decide if they should turn the volume up. That is what you have, right? We have to decide if this look is the right look. And I could have taken that personally.
Sure.
hey, I like my hair, or hey, I like the clothes I'm wearing, right? What's wrong with me? But I realized that they were selling a product. And if you think about it, we're all products. We are all out there, and people say, well, I'm not in sales. I'm like, ha, 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 ha. We're all in sales. And so if you could think of yourself as a product, it's so much easier to take some of the feedback that you receive, because you want to sell your best self, and so does your company. They want to sell your best self. So when you're putting your first impression together on video, it really is creating that set. And I would love for you to see like some of the 3 tips that we give out. One is that you have to have the video camera at eye level. That's super important. You're going to want to make sure that no one is seeing your ceiling fan blowing above you, right? That's important, that they are looking right at your face. You want to make this virtual environment feel like it's in person. And how do you do that? You would never invite somebody in your office to come in underneath you like that. And I know that setting expectations is a huge thing for people. We've had clients that have said, but how do I get the other person to actually get on camera? Because how many of you have gotten on a video call, the person's in black, and you feel like you're talking to the abyss? Like, is anybody there? Are you putting in pizza rolls into the microwave and not really listening to me right now?
That's right. And look, I had them go back to this slide. You were talking about the fan, and we'll go back to that one next. But when we did this internally at Flagstar, I laughed at it at first. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? It's no different than any other sales call, right? You try to set the right expectations of what you're expecting from the person on the other end of the line. And you talked about it in our session, right? A lot of times you throw out these invites and there's no expectation of, I need to see the other person, right? They can join. To your point, their video doesn't have to be on. It becomes less of a personal interaction at that point, I think. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Sometimes people don't have their camera on, or they have like the little, I do it all the time where I have like a little plate over the camera and then I forget to take it off for the first meeting. People see black and then I realize it. But it's interesting. What would be some, in your opinion, like setting that expectation ahead of time that, hey, I want to see you?
That simple sentence there, we've had clients, so one in the UK who said she had not seen her client for 2 years. You know, they're on really lockdown. And she said, I want to be able to have these video calls, but she's not turning her camera on. I said, you write this one sentence, I can't wait to see you, and put this little funny dog meme in there and let's see what happens. She's seen her twice in the last 3 months. She's like, you're right. Like, why was it so simple? And I just didn't think of it. And that's what we're here for, is to go, okay, now this is a whole new thing. And you just have to take what you already maybe know and put it into this.
But you know what it is too? It's something simple. I say this all the time. You're allowed to have fun too, right? Like, imagine getting that invite for you, everybody watching this right now. You know, one of your business partners sends you this email wanting to meet with you, and you see that. Of course, you're going to put your picture on when you see that. It's interesting, but it's simple, right?
And it's true to our brand, right? So when we talk about authenticity, this is true to my brand. If I'm sending that out there, like, okay, Katrina's funny, this is what she wants to do, great. And you would turn on your camera. But that's like one of the other workshops that we teach is email subject writing. And it's setting the tone. Like, if you went back and looked at one of your emails that you just recently sent, it probably says quick call or follow up to my voicemail. Set the tone. We're talking about charismatic copywriting as well. And you really have to come across and set those expectations. Now here, putting your camera at eye level, you can do that. Put some books underneath your laptop. It is also too about having a really good camera. And I'm fearful of showing what my laptop camera can, this HD camera that I'm using. And you know, I'm a vain TV person. So we sent back 3 other cameras before we ended up buying this camera. And it makes a difference on the quality of the meeting and the interaction. And then number 2, you got to think about lighting. You do not want to have the light coming from behind you, because suddenly you've got no light on your face. So if you can turn your desk around and have that natural light come in, you don't need to buy any lighting. Or you buy the ring lights and everything like we have, which is $30 to get that nice fill. And it just makes you look a lot better. And I say the older I get, the more lights we're going to buy.
This one, I'll tell you what, Katrina, this one, when we went through this, you don't think about it too much, but it's kind of like an aha moment. You're like, that is why that's happening, because the light's coming from behind the natural light. You think it looks good. I know I've actually rearranged my setup a little bit so the natural light's more coming from in front and left versus kind of like behind and to the side of me. It's amazing how something so small like that makes a difference.
Makes a big difference. And the camera just can't adjust. It's just one of those things that you think, oh yeah, it'll be fine because I feel like I look fine right now, but the camera just can't adjust.
And then I will say, for the people that attended the branding session, they did get Flagstar ring lights that we sent them that they could attach to their phones, their laptops, their computers. So who knows, there may be some more in stock that we may be able to send out to everybody that's on this one that maybe didn't attend the other one too. But there you go.
Hey, I love it when people listen. That's great. Thank you for having empathy for me.
That's right.
So good. It's so good. And then the third thing is dressing your set and yourself. Jewel tone colors are the best. And when I say like jewel tones, you see those bright colors, solids. You don't want to go on with a lot of pattern, anything that would distract the audience from listening to you. Big earrings, right? Big earrings that might be going too much. And if you can think about branding, I mean, look at PBS there in the slide. They have their branding in the back. We have our CharismaQ branding right here. I printed that out at a local printer for $3, threw it in a nice frame. I mean, it does not take a lot, and you don't want to lose that real estate. I mean, even typing my name this morning, as I was getting into this platform, I put in CharismaQ. Why would you not want your brand to be right there front and center to your buyer at all times? It's just one of those things, another little tip to think about.
That's the thing that was interesting to me, Katrina, when we went through the session with you is it isn't like it's a huge investment, right? From a financial perspective. You just mentioned that whole frame right there with the printout and everything. That probably cost you like $10, right? When it's all said and done. If that.
Right.
And it's like, I joke around about how I'm fixing mine. Right now, I'm pubbing the Philadelphia Phillies behind me because that's the team I follow in baseball. And I mean, that happened to be a perfect game and a no-hitter by Roy Halladay back in the day, but I digress. But that I'm going to have more of a Flagstar presence behind and what I'm doing. But again, something simple as that costs less than $10, but why waste the space, right?
Why waste the space? And when you get those beautiful shelves behind you, we will now have those little pieces, those little story pieces in those shelves behind you. And then we'll just have to get a Flagstar frame and logo and you're set. But now you'll be doing more professional meetings and they'll see that Flagstar logo.
That's right.
Right. So it really, these are things, like you said, they're not hard for people to realize. It's just that they just didn't realize them before. And what we're doing, like when we build Charisma, there's a couple different ways of how we're working with people. We have these webinars, we have the workshops that you went through. We go a little bit deeper dive when we go into our coaching session, but we're really excited to talk about the coaching and communication platform that we're creating that's going to be released in July. Working with developers right now on how you would go through and get your CharismaQ score. So I know that some people are like, wait, what CharismaQ score? So what makes CharismaQ so different is that we teach charisma. How we teach it is you are video recorded. So you go onto this platform, you're asked 10 questions about yourself and about your company that allow us to score you on those 6 components that we talked about. And then you get hooked with your certified CharismaQ coach. And all of them are expert storytellers and master communicators, people like me who've in the industry, whether that's TV, radio, or they're channel influencers in their own space. They've already proved that they're able to attract, engage, and motivate the people around them. And so this is a great way if you're thinking about, all right, I want to baseline all my people and I want to make sure that they're all saying our company message really well. And this is virtually and beyond. And once they learn this message, then the platform will be able to say, yes, you hit the mark. You are now able to be customer facing.
Well, and the interesting thing about this, right? We framed this session around CharismaQ and what is charisma and the components of charisma. And then, we dove into first impressions a lot because, again, from a video perspective, that's something that you can control on your own, even if you may not feel as confident or, the messaging may be somewhat unclear or not defined enough. The first impression piece, you can control that, right?
Completely.
But we frame it around the change in how we're working, right? With this whole advent of not traveling, being face to face. But it kind of dawned on me as I was prepping for this that, we're probably doing our business partners a disservice because it applies to all forms, right? At the end of the day, it's not just for a session like this. It's when you are at a conference, right? And you're in a room where you don't know anybody. Your own personal first impression, your confidence, the message that you want to deliver. So what we're really talking about around this CharismaQ and charisma, it means probably a lot more to some people who are not as comfortable in this setting. But in general, it's about your overall approach to how you do business.
It's your personal brand and it's how you treat others. It's really that experience once you've walked out that people remember you. Right? How do you stand up and stand out? I mean, that's like, why is somebody so charismatic? That's generally what it is. It's like, I like that person. I want to do what they are saying, and I trust them. All of our clients have had the same DNA, which is they are in high trust transactions where the buyer typically buys you. They don't really read their insurance documents or their mortgage documents. They don't really understand all the language, but they believe in you. So that is what all of our clients see. And when you talk about going to networking events, we also have a workshop where we talk about making a great first impression and your elevator speech. We all talk about having it, but people don't really have it. And I don't know about you, John, but when I walk up, I make a dumb joke. Like, if you're walking up to somebody for the first time ever, I'm like, hi, I'm mingling. And I'm like, that's not really my name. My name's Katrina. But now I have messed up their guessing machine. I didn't sound like everybody else. Right. I got them to laugh right away, hopefully. Please laugh at me, please. And then started that conversation out about what I do. And I mean, it's intriguing enough to tell people you're a charisma coach, then they want to know more. But I'm all for you guys making sure that you have an intriguing, something that's a little different to set yourself apart.
Sure. And hey, I probably forgot to mention this to everybody that's watching. You obviously can ask questions. We do have some questions that came through. So
great.
I'm going to kind of interject them in as we're getting into the kind of wind down. We talked about this earlier, but I just want to make sure we hit it home, right? So one of the questions was, because they come through on my computer, when it comes to improving your virtual presence of those characteristics that you mentioned, right? And we might be able to pull that back up, the chart that had like the 6 components on it. What's the one that you think is probably the one that is the one component that people look at and say, hey, if you just do this, it'll help you with your charisma and your presence and your messaging?
I'll tell you that sales managers have enlisted our services because of that first impression. I mean, their sales teams were sent home and suddenly there was laundry behind them. They might have had their meetings with the bed behind them, which is a CharismaQ no. Stamp, no, don't do that. So their bosses were like, please help them on first impressions. If you can just get that done. And we say it's a continuum of charisma. Like, you get a little sprinkle of charisma when you get about your first impression. And that's been the number one thing. It's like, make sure that they look good. And I forget what athlete is, isn't it? And John, you'll probably know this. You look good, you feel good, you get paid good.
Uh-huh.
Right? So they have to think about that. So the first impression has been the number one component.
Got it. And that makes sense, right? Because again, I think when you look at that, especially in this setting, right? Like if you're looking at me, right now. And by the way, it's cleaned out because they're getting ready to start building next week. But there's the statue of my first dog, right, that I've ever owned. There's a putter off to the right. So I'm probably into golf, and I'm a huge sports fan. So it used to be a Cowboys picture. Now it's a Phillies picture. So I kind of change it with the seasons and the sports. I do think first impressions go a long way, right? And I think, to your point earlier, a lot of decisions are made with that first impression, right, on how you come across.
It is. And people don't realize that in this medium, you need to have bigger expressions. Video has a way of shrinking you down. So when you get first on a call, smile right away. I'm a paid smiler. I could continue to smile and talk to you forever in keeping that smile. But that's the international language for I'm approachable. And that is when you are getting on those calls, I know everybody's looking to try to make sure you're not on mute and do I have my camera up? Smile the entire time you're doing it. It's giving that, they just immediately feel a better connection to you. They may not know why, but it's because of that smile. And you really have to learn how to train that in.
So a couple more questions. Another one just came through. Your thoughts on a green screen, which I hadn't thought about that before. A green screen from a background perspective to change it up versus maybe doing what I'm about to do with all the money and the construction. What about a green screen?
That's a great question. So for whoever asked that, thank you. I am not a huge fan of the virtual backgrounds. For those of you who have been on calls with people that have had those virtual backgrounds, they start gesturing and suddenly they don't have hands anymore. So we want to really make it feel authentic. And if your virtual background is incredible and there's no bleed around you when it cuts you out, hey, knock it out of the park. That might be the easiest way for you to put some branding. I know companies are giving their entire teams that virtual background. But if there's a way that you can put it in naturally behind you, I think it looks a lot better.
Got it. Makes sense. So from your clients, just from a big picture perspective, what's the most asked question that you think you get over and over again? And look, it may vary depending, but the theme's still the same. So what's the most asked question that you get consistently?
Well, they really wanted to know how to set those expectations for their buyer. But the second most asked question is, where do I look? Because you go down, I'll show you the difference. So right now I'm looking at the camera. And I can't really see every gesture you make, but in my peripheral vision, I can see some, like you just put your hands out. Okay, I can see that.
Yep.
And I think that when people start to look down, now I'm really looking at you on my monitor.
Right.
You're looking at me on the monitor right now. Now look at me right at the camera.
Right.
Okay, makes a huge difference.
It does.
And you feeling like it's in person. So we also teach another workshop on managing a large stakeholder meeting. Here's another tip. When you're presenting, you should be looking right at that camera. But if you, John, let's say you're on my team, you are now the inspector. You will now have to look around the room and it's your job to go, hey, Susan, it looked like you had a question when Katrina was talking about this. And vice versa. Now, when you present, I'll do the same for you. But you have to make it seem like you are in person.
Got it.
High-performing teams learn how to master this. You will set yourself apart from the competitors if you adopt this type of practice and really get good at this. But it takes a lot of energy to keep your eye contact on that camera.
It does. And I struggle with it because, to your point, there's so much going on in your peripheral vision. And I'm looking at you right now going, I'm looking directly at her. I'm having a conversation with her, yet the camera's here. And I struggle with that myself. And it's easy to fall into that trap. Anything else? I know we try to keep this to 45. Those are pretty much the questions that we've gotten through. Kind of in summary for the group, obviously charisma matters, right? I think obviously the components that you talked about are extremely important. I love some of the examples you gave around what to wear, what not to wear, how to have the camera set so it's not showing your ceiling and all that good stuff. Set the expectations. What else would you leave for some tips for everybody today?
I think when you are worried about yourself and your presentation skills, if you could flip the script in your mind and think, how can I make the other person feel really comfortable with me right now? And it really is about the audience and what do they need. And you can, that one question, I know that I asked the Flagstar group when we did the session with you, who's counting on you to speak for them? You will step up your game, you will have more confidence. And when you really think this is about them and not about me, and I'm going to quit judging myself and I'm going to be me.
Yep.
And I think if I could leave people with that, be yourself and care about other people, I'm good.
Hey, I'm going to throw one more question at you because it just came through at the finish line. It was around YouTube videos and staying in contact with customers and clients. So the question was, for YouTube videos, do you feel there's any type of content that you would suggest to keep clients engaged?
So yes, and I know a lot of clients use that video bomb as well to send those videos on email. And one thing you have to think about is your script. And this kind of leads into what I just said. It's all about the audience.
Right.
So you have to be thinking, what do they want to learn? Right? Humans, we have three things that we need to learn. It's like, is it going to save me money? Is it going to make me more money? And is it going to teach me something? And if you could write your content all based around that, we're doing a workshop soon, and we're going to be doing it for Flagstar. I think some of the account executives are wanting to get on this. And it is writing those scripts, those video scripts, based off of what is the audience looking for and how do you write a TV written script to connect with them. People didn't realize that TV anchors, our job was to write the commercials to make sure that the tease before the commercial came to make sure that you would come back. And it really is about how you connect with that audience. So whoever asked that question, think to yourself, what is my buyer looking to save them time or money or needs to learn? And then back in your script.
That's a great way to kind of to end this. And I will tell you, it's been on the ticker below, the way to follow Katrina, to get in touch with her, both her at CharismaQ and all that good stuff. And we'll make sure you get all this as participants. We'll make sure we push out the contact information, because I will tell you, while you got about 40 minutes of it today, I do know a lot of my AEs have continued to follow up from the first session with Katrina. And as she mentioned, they're probably getting ready to do some more work with her. So she mentioned a couple things that are coming up on their end that I think if you want to participate in, by all means, feel free and reach out. So we'll make sure that we get you all that contact information as well. Hey, Katrina, this was great. I appreciate you doing it. I can't thank you enough for jumping on board and sharing some thoughts with our people and our business partners. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it too, John. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, gang. Hey, well, another one in the books. I know we got started 5 minutes late, so we're still within that 45-minute time frame. And then I want to let you know about our next one. So I think we have a slide on that. I'm hoping. Yep, here you go. So in our next series on July 15th, you all know him. We're going to have Barry Habib from the CEO of MBS Highway talking to us, on a lot of different fronts in regards to the current state of the economy, the current state of housing, where we should be focusing on, where we should be focusing our efforts on a go-forward basis, not only with our referral partners, but with our borrowers. So I would encourage you, as always, to sign up, register. Again, Barry Habib, MBS Highway on July 15th, second Thursday of every month at 2 o'clock. And we're looking forward to having him on. So again, can't thank you enough for taking the time. Certainly appreciate you as a business partner. And hopefully you're walking away with some things today that'll help you be more charismatic as you move forward. Have a great rest of your day.